She fluent in that cash talk. Walk in the booth like Naomi on the catwalk. And tell them bitches whoop whoop from the Jaguar. It ain't even right though. Push me and I might go. She ain't getting money, I'm like, what the fuck the hype for? When them bitches bite flow, make my appetite go. Poof, gone, voila, magic. Looking mad good just to pull up on them rampant.
Welcome back to another episode of Unhinged Immoral. I am Mecca.
And I'm Jamila.
Black elitism.
And we're talking about the talented bourgeoisie.
Bourgeoisie, Hampton University.
The bourgeoisie.
Jamila, a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. What's the other one? Jack and Jill. Lynx. NAACP. Urban League.
Oak Bluffs.
Martha's Vineyard. Ralph Lauren.
You know, actually, it's Ralph Lauren.
Okay,
the fuck out of me. And my black
before we
ass.
get too deep into this, Jumping the Broom was one of my favorite movies growing up. I literally, and I think that movie perfectly encapsulates the bourgeoisie meeting the working class from around the way. And as someone who grew up in that exact experience, it really tickled my fancy. It did. Like, imagine my dad at my debutante ball in the Botillion. It was...
It was quite.
He was like,
fest.
This is nice, but what the fuck?
You know, for context, for those of you, because this is going to be coming out a little bit after probably the conversation has died down a bit, but you know us, we love to bring it back up. So for context, Ralph Lauren dropped a collab specifically highlighting the black folks in Oak Bluff, which is a specific black part of Martha's Vineyard, and kind of just showcasing the type of clothes, I guess, that they would wear up there. And they also did like a specific collab with like Morehouse and Spelman, a little Spellhouse type shit, little sweaters and gadgets and gadgets and things, you know. Sweaters and collars and pants
1920s gear.
And because of that, a couple of people on TikTok, it has curated a discussion about division, elitism of some sorts. And why are we showing blacks wearing Ralph Lauren in an uppity bougie way when we stole Ralph Lauren polos, and we would freak it in such a street style way? Why would they not show the street styles? That was the conversation that was happening.
I was so confused
TikTok.
by the conversation because it happened when we were in LA working, and I feel like when we're actually on work trips, my screen time, I mean, I don't feel, I see it. It goes down significantly based on what my phone tells me, but also based on the conversations on TikTok. So I was like, what are y'all talking about?
I got it late, so I actually got
I didn't get anything. I've been picking it up as I go. And I feel like, and you can correct me just based on what I got, I hate to sound like this, is Oak Bluffs not brand alignment with like Ralph Lauren? Like, that's the part that confuses me.
Well, can I be honest?
Be honest, because I still don't fully grasp where we're going. Like, you're mad at Ralph Lauren for being bougie. Like, that's the part that's confusing to me.
I did not know about Oak Bluff until I watched Forever. So, if I'm being quite honest, like, just to kind of give a little backstory about my blackness, let's identify our
blacknesses before we get into what's going on.
The nuance of said conversations. Okay. So, we all know I'm from Beaumont, Texas. My father is from Mobile, Alabama. Okay, both of my parents grew up in poverty.
Oh my God. I was not recording that entire time, and I only know because my camera just shut off.
Well, luckily for us,
we're not too deep.
Your computer was recording.
I know. It's okay.
I was going to say, like, damn, I didn't think that was that deep. I was like, I thought you were responding to me both saying my parents were born in poverty. Oh, my God. I was like, what?
She's really elitist. She hates poverty.
I was like, what's...
All right, guys. Unfortunately, I forgot to press record on my camera. So for the first, what was this, like 5 minutes of the episode, you will see the wallpaper peeling at the top. But I'm back. I'm here now. And I don't hate Black people in poverty like Jamila's parents grew up. I was just...
So what we were going to say is we were kind of going to give you guys a little blurb about our Blackness and our Black experience quickly, and then kind of get into the conversation. Because I feel like
that
the way
matters.
You grew up is going to persuade your perspective on this. So anyways, both my parents grew up in poverty. Both of my parents also went to college. They went to HBCUs. They went to Prairie View A&M, as did my father's siblings, most of them except for one. And so both of my parents are college graduated. And I've lived in Gwinnett County for several years. I went to schooling in Gwinnett County, middle school, high school, right? If you know, you know, Gwinnett County is one of the top educational systems in Georgia.
The Migos are liars.
And then,
The Migos are liars.
Well, it's...
the Twitter streets be saying the Migos are from Gwinnett.
They are from Gwinnett.
Okay.
But they rep Gwinnett.
I didn't know that.
They've always rep Gwinnett. That's the whole part of it.
Oh, but they're like trappers out of Gwinnett.
Yeah. That's what I said. It's a whole other conversation. Anyways, focus, man.
Sorry.
So, after high school, I went to Hampton my freshman year. Mm-hmm. I could not afford to stay at Hampton. I did not have scholarships, and my parents could not afford to pay for Hampton out of pocket. So I transferred to good old state school, Georgia State, where I graduated with $60,000 in debt. Okay. And then I entered the workforce in some sort of way. So that's kind of just like my brand experience. And like I said, I didn't know about Oak Bluff until watching Forever. I've always heard of like Martha's Vineyard, just like through like pop culture and shit. But I just always thought of it as like, you know, the Hamptons or whatever the fuck, you know, like where the white people go to vacation. I didn't know that there was a black part of it. So seeing that in Forever was pretty cool. Just a little tidbit. Mm-hmm. I also didn't know what Jack and Jill was until I went to college and met people who were actually in this Jack and Jill program. I'd never even heard of a cotillion. I never heard of any of those things until I went to Hampton. But because when you go to HBCUs, you're like inundated with all of the blacks. Mm-hmm. So you get to see all of the different backgrounds and stuff. And well, Hampton is one of the bougier HBCUs. It just is what it is. So there were quite a few Jack and Jillians and things of that nature. So that is my blackness. That is the very, very, very standard middle, not even middle class, working class black.
Well, I was a debutante. No, but okay. My mom is educated. She has a few degrees. My dad did not graduate from high school. She got some ism, you know, what is it, like the educated girl college hood nigga dynamic. That's very much my parents. With that being said, though, my mom, who is a teacher, was a teacher when I was growing up, and then transferred into like social work because she's into like helping people. I was exposed to these programs. So I was aware of Oak Bluff. My mom was really big on us being, I've said it on the internet, my mom is Claire Huxtable. If you've ever met my mother, she's we speak clearly and articulate. We're not like them. But like also wanting to educate the not like thems. Does that make sense? Like she cares about Black youth. She preaches education as freedom, all that good stuff. My dad's family is complete opposite. So I have been exposed to both sides. I was aware of Oak Bluff. I'm not from Martha's Vineyard. Obviously, I'm from California. Like I said, I was in Cotillion. My brother was in Botillion. Like, I'm just aware of all these. And I also went to Hampton. So, you know, I rep for the suburban blacks who have a parent from the hood. Doesn't mean you're a sucker. You can still fight, but you don't have to, false claim. It is what it is. Now that you have our backgrounds and how now I do feel like that was important to put out how we interpret things. And if, like I said, I'm just very confused. Like I don't mind admitting that certain programs are elitist because at its core, HBCUs are elitist. All the Jack and Jills, the Botillions, the D9s, like these are all technically speaking elitist Black organizations at their core. And I'm not saying that they are not positively affecting Black culture. I'm not saying that they negatively affect Black culture. I think that they do both at times. But I don't want to, because they tried to, in my comments, make it seem like I was saying that they're not elitist. That's not what I'm saying at all. The part that's confusing me is Ralph Lauren at its core, even as a white brand, has always been, even before like niggas hijacked it. You're gonna like, if you're looking at their advertising, they're always going to be on the polo course. They're always like sweaters wrapped around their shoulders. So like brand alignment with like Morehouse and Oak Bluffs, the fact that that's what set off the conversation is confusing to me because that seems like brand alignment with Ralph Lauren and their ads in general.
When I saw the ads, so I saw the ads before the conversation, which I always think is you get a different perspective, because if you see the conversation, then you see the ads, sometimes you're kind of like conflicted and like it can kind of warp your view of it. So I saw the ad before the conversation, and my genuine reaction was, I like this. This is really cute. This is really nice.
It made sense.
And again, I had just finished watching Forever, so now I know about Oak Bluffs. So I feel like I'm hip to the bluff, right? And so I'm like, okay, this reminds me of, watching that episode of Forever. And I was honestly admiring the coloring of the edits. I'm a little film nerd. So I was like, oh, this is really well done, crafted. But I was also noticing how many dark-skinned Black people were involved on camera and on screen, and I really enjoyed that as well. And I also admired how it was a specific advertisement with this Black elder, and it was a woman, and she was kind of just talking about what going to Oak Bluff meant for her for all these years, just having that candid conversation. It wasn't even necessarily like, hey guys, Ralph Lauren. You know what I'm saying? It was more so like, this is a group of people that do this specific activity in this specific part of town, and let's tell our stories. But that in itself was used as brand endorsement for the brand. So that's why I felt like it was very authentic to that part of the world. So that was what my first thought was when I saw it. So I wasn't necessarily I wasn't anticipating it becoming discourse at all, to be honest. I thought it was just going to be a simple, you see the ad, you repost, and you keep scrolling, to be honest.
Because again, with everything that you said and everything that I've seen from Ralph Lauren's ads, like historically, it lined up like brand alignment wise. And I too saw the ad before the discourse, and I too was like, I saw the Morehouse, the picture of the Morehouse boys in the old timey 1920s clothes before I kept scrolling and was seeing everything else. So when I first saw it, I said, oh, this makes sense. Morehouse. Like that was literally what I thought. I said, this aligns. This makes sense. And I like the pictures. Everyone looks nice. It gives and I could tell that they had used old HBCU yearbooks for that particular part of the shoot. If you've ever looked through the yearbooks of your HBCU or any HBCU from the 20s and the 30s, that's what those pictures were inspired by. And since I had that knowledge going into it, I said, oh, this is well done. Cool.
Yeah, I thought it was, and that's coming from somebody who I'd never dressed like that. That's not my brand of Black.
Fashion over down.
I've never even, like I said, I never even heard of Oak Bluff until this year when I watched a freaking Netflix TV show. My family is very hood. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not my story. And so I was able to kind of digest it and recognize that was somebody's story. Just wasn't necessarily mine. And I kind of just went about my day.
The other part that I guess I liked about it is that Martha's Vineyard has become over the years known for being like a white getaway. And I really, in the past decade, probably since Jumping the Broom came out, have enjoyed how like the Black people who live there and vacation there, even if that's a different tax bracket than like I grew up in, because I want to make it clear, even though like my parents weren't rich, like I would definitely consider an upper middle class upbringing. But when I went to Hampton, I realized like, oh, bitch. Bitch.
There's layers.
You know what I'm saying? It's layers to that money and how long it is. And I just want to, we were more on the new money in terms of my parents had their own business together and they were doing very well, like in a different way. And then also we lived in California. But like when you go to certain places and you start meeting motherfuckers who are generationally like Hamptonians.
And it's funny because
it's like that money. Okay, that's different.
When you haven't experienced wealth in that way, people will talk, because the thing is you talk casually about your life without, it's not something you're cognizant of until people say things that unlock things like, well, hold on, what do you mean?
Like, I think, for example,
back
here's
up.
a good,
what are you talking
here's
about?
a good thing. or like a good example, when I went to Hampton, it was easy for me to bond with the girls who had been in like debutante ball. So, we're talking about our things. Now, to give you perspective of like my parents being the working end of like the upper middle class, I rented my debutante dress. I did not buy it because buying it is thousands of dollars. When I went to Hampton and was talking to girls like, oh, my debutante dress cost $10K. My mother paid $400 to rent it and give it back. Do you see what I'm like? And that is, even though you're kind of in the circle, there is still very like different layers of said circle. So like,
yeah,
that just want to make that
a wake up call
too.
for me. Yeah, I remember, just in casual conversation, but also just noticing, physically, people walking around in designer. And I just bought my own designer bag this year, and it's Coach. Yeah. And that's no shade to Coach.
Oh, no.
I love Coach, but it's not a Chanel. It's not a Louis. There's levels. Even within the designer sphere, there's layers. So it's like I'm looking at kids my age walk around with like designer from head to toe, and not just one day of the week.
Oh, at 8 a.m. At that 8 a.m.
So
drip or drop.
It was like, oh,
this is different.
We're not the same, you and I. Like, there was just differences. And so like being exposed to that it can be very like
jarring
and alarming. And then you can start to feel a little bit of insecurity as well. Cause I definitely started to feel like, damn, like I thought we were good because we did go to Disney World that one time.
Honestly, I was more confused as to why the boys from PG County were trying to act like they're from the trenches. And you're dripping and drowning in designer every day of the week, sir. I don't believe you.
It's a crazy mind.
We're going to take a break. And we're back.
Back to
Ralph Lauren.
Back to Ralph Lauren. What I was saying was, I think it's been cool because Martha's Vineyard, like the whole Black population of Martha's Vineyard also is not rich. I just want like, they have their own thing out there. And so I think it's been really cool to learn about it. And, if you have the knowledge that is a different wealth class in some cases. When I watched it, I was much like you. I said, oh, this is so cool. I feel like we're learning about a part of Black culture that we don't always learn about. I didn't look at it from a social class lens at all. I just normally ingested.
So with the conversation happening on TikTok, there's two sides to the conversation. And I do feel like each side is making valid points. However, I just wish that the conversation happened outside of this ad, because I do feel like the ad actually was more so a catalyst to the conversation and not really like it's not really correlating, if that makes sense. It's like this just sparked the thought.
Yeah.
Right. But now it's like we're having conversations that are completely outside of this ad. And so on one end I see it's two extremes of the argument too. So on one end it's like that does not explain all of Black people. That's not how we are. I grew up in the trenches. I grew up here. I grew up there. We used to steal polo. We used to freak polo like this. This is what I want to see presented. And on the other side is, well, Black people aren't a monolith. We deserve to see ourselves in this type of space. And I can't help that y'all used to steal shit. I never had to steal shit and just all these other things. And so while both sides have valued opinions and arguments, I think both sides are also being a bit disingenuous and ignorant.
Dare I say it? Because so in the video that I made that was much like the top of this like pod, I was like, I'm really confused at this conversation. I'm confused at how we got here from the Ralph Lauren ad. And someone was in the comments like, just say the organizations are elitist. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, well, yes, but I'm also like, I'm still so confused. Because the thing, I think the part that's confusing me is it's like, yes, y'all are making points, but when has Ralph Lauren the ads ever been anything but motherfuckers on a polo course? So like at the very bare minimum of advertising and their brand alignment, I'm not talking about how niggas took Ralph Lauren and freaked it. I'm talking about how Ralph Lauren, the brand, presents themselves to us. That aligns with how they have quite literally always presented themselves to us. So it simply makes sense. Even when the rappers were wearing Ralph Lauren all the motherfucking time, they still didn't put them niggas in the ads. Because that wasn't
and somebody made a good point in saying that if they were to do that, it would give off very inauthentic and pandering. And I
agree with that. Like, because they're never like, I just have never seen a Ralph Lauren ad that didn't give rich and we're at the golf course. So I don't see why even when you're using non-white people and using black people, it still wouldn't align. Like, yeah, I think I would be a little irritated if you veered from your brand alignment and made it niggery, trenchy. I feel like, oh, I don't like that.
I'd be like, Ralph.
Lauren.
Who the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, the thing is, and I hate to say it, we have to divest from this idea that representation is only important for one group of people. Representation is about about showing all of the things. And when we're talking about Black folks, the same applies. So, for example, I remember when Sexy Red came out, this conversation of representation,
y'all hated that too,
was happening again. Like, why is Sexy Red the representation of all Blacks? I don't act like that. I don't pop my pussy severely. I don't do this. I don't do that. This is not how we are better than that. And while I don't necessarily see myself in Sexy Red, it doesn't affect me. And I think that y'all have a problem with acknowledging that there are sectors of people out there that absolutely identify with several different parts of Blackness. You know what I mean? We cannot only show bougie ass, uppity niggas. We can't. But we also can't show hood niggas all day, every day. There's a lot of different type of Black folks. Because I just told you, I don't identify with either side because I grew up working class American and I'm still very much working class. Both of those are not my experience. But I'm not offended by seeing both of them.
When the Sexy Red conversation was happening a couple years ago, I remember being like, white people are allowed to exist and have so many different versions of themselves. And then when we do the same thing, it's like we have to be all in the same box. We can't have a Sexy Red because not all Black people act like Sexy Red. Fair, but Sexy Reds do exist in the world. I'm related to someone. I know the girls like Sexy Red. But then also, there are people who who are like Oak Bluff, who are like Forever, who are like Martha's Vineyard, who are like Jumping the Broom. They deserve to see themselves in some shit too. And everyone in between also deserves to see themselves. Like when you're watching shows like Blackish, when you're watching shows like that is important for people to see all walks. And I just feel like Black people, we're the only ones who it's like, whenever we see one brand, then we get mad. It's like, when you be like, the sky is beautiful. Why you ain't seen the trees is beautiful? The trees beautiful too. It's just like, we're not talking about the trees right now. I don't know.
And I think that also people are so close-minded to other perspectives too, because while I don't agree with the idea of this advertisement and this brand sponsorship, because we have to be honest, guys, this is a commercial. Okay. It's a commercial. It is not literature brought to us by W.E.B. Du Bois to be digested and dissected into critical race theory. It is not something of that magnitude. It is a commercial. So by nature, it's already rooted in capitalism. Okay. So now that we got that out the fucking way, you guys have an issue with also just taking heed to what someone is saying. Right? Because if someone is raising valid points, regardless of where it comes from, you can acknowledge somebody raising valid points without doing a dig. Because while I disagree that the ad is not a good representation of all Black people, I don't necessarily agree with that. Yes, there are conversations to be had about the elitism within Black folks, right? So then on the flip side, because you don't agree with the concept of the ad participating in that conversation, now you want to flip it and make it seem like these Black people in these entities are not elitist or capitalists or classist. now we're lying.
It's just the idea that it has to be all or nothing. Like you can't use your brain and be like, I agree with this part, but I don't agree with this part. I agree with that part, but I don't agree with that part. It's like that's the stan culture of it all. That's like the literal obtuseness of it all. And I feel like a lot of times, especially I see with myself when I'm like, no, I don't completely agree with that, but I agree with this part. People act like they don't get that. And it's like, that's what I was saying earlier when I was like, do these institutions offer positive attributes to our community? Absolutely. You can look at, you were just talking about at the National Urban League about like how the D9 contributes to the Black community positively, how HBCUs contribute to our community positively, how things like Jack and Jill do contribute to the community positively. Does that mean that they are not rooted in elitism and that they do not get elitist? No. Like like some stuff do be, it is what it is.
It is what
it is. What, y'all gonna eradicate historically Black colleges because they elitist? Good luck. I don't know.
You know the concept of when you fly too close to the sun, right? Or you are so left that it becomes right.
Yes.
Like, you know, when you go too far, like you circle back around. So that's kind of what I see happening in this conversation. I watched somebody talk about how they felt like they were on the side of the conversation that was saying this commercial, this concept, all of these things is very elitist, right? And I'm listening to them explain why they feel it was elitist. I'm like, okay, valid point. And then they continued to talk and they said, and some of y'all is repping these HBCUs, and them HBCUs has an acceptance rate of 50%. I would understand it if you was repping like a Yale. I said, and I gotcha.
That is the problem.
Because the way you are trying to condemn people for anti-Blackness by using anti-Blackness is such the dichotomy of the two. Like,
and that is the
it's
point
actually quite disturbing
that I was trying to make.
Quite disturbing.
That when you're coming at a caste system, you cannot choose one racial group that participates in said caste system. You have to come at the entire system, right? Because there is a hierarchy in white culture, in Latin culture, like in Asian culture. If you go like that mirrors the white supremacy of this country. I just feel like the hands, like it's all interconnecting and leading back to white supremacy and Ronald Reagan, who is in hell. I'm always going to bring it back to Ronald Reagan. Also, Hulk Hogan, sir, let me tell you something. I have to veer off. I thought Hulk Hogan was like regular racist. I did not know he was that racist. Unfortunately, in America, you know, you have a baseline racism with the white people. I thought he was like a turn that music down racist. I did not know he was a full hard ER. I'm disowning my daughter for fucking a Black man. I said, you're in hell?
He's the I said nigger 5 times in one sentence racist.
I did not know that.
And he tripled and tripled down once Trump became Trump, right?
Insanity.
Presidentially Trump. And he said, actually, I'm going to take this a step further and I'm going to do as much as I can to make sure you monkeys don't see heaven. So, joke's on him. That nigga's in hell.
Getting his dick sucked by Nancy Reagan. Anyway. You know, if you're gonna come at the system, come at the entire system. But yeah, you can't push, you can't say, oh, this is anti-Black and then reinforce it with more anti-Blackness. Yeah. That sucks.
And that's what I was gonna say. And I be wanting to know what do y'all want? You know, okay, so what's the solution? You feel as though people are being very elitist, and then you talk about the elitism within these HBCUs, which again, fair, but then you think the solution is to then we should divest from HBCUs and invest in PWIs where the acceptance rates is so much lower and there's not a lot of fairness that goes on between races. Is that what you feel like the solution is? Because I'm here to tell you, experiencing both, that's not the solution.
It's not.
And I had it good because I went to Georgia State, which is technically a PWI, but it had a whole lot of niggas there. So it was a little bit of a skewed experience. But I can't imagine going to somewhere like the University of Georgia.
Well,
or
I
Georgia
went to
Tech,
Towson.
Or UCLA or whatever. I can't fucking imagine being
a nigga there
in that type of environment. Like, no, I can't.
And let me say this. I was at Towson at a point where like the police were shooting niggas down in the street what seemed to be like every other month, and having to be in classes where white boys were playing devil's advocate and the white teachers were like, well, wait, let him finish. Do you see what I'm saying? That would have never happened at a HBCU. It's just certain things that it's like, y'all can't make the point by giving the point you're trying to disprove more power. It's very strange. And we actually see that a lot on TikTok, I feel, in terms of, because TikTok and social media in general has created a space where everyone can get online and show what they're doing. And so in a way, it is good because you're much like a HBCU experience, you're seeing, oh, Black people are so different. Like Black people, we're not all the same. We're all living in like different realities and state, diaspora, all these things. But then it's also putting everyone on the chopping block to be critiqued and be like, oh, I don't like the way you do that over there. I don't like, it's like, well, I don't think that you don't like it because you just don't understand it. It's not yours, you know? Even down to like the people being like African food is like nasty. Like, have you had suya?
We're in a weird state right now with Black folks to where it's constant dissonance in between us as a group of people. And that's the part that's kind of frustrating for me because I feel like no matter the context, there is discourse, because just a little while ago y'all were talking about how y'all want to defund Tyler Perry and Madea because he's only addressing like the lower class people who like these types of, you know, images and videos about them. But then it's consistent contradictions. So that's why I'm asking, like, what do you all want? You are not the target demographic and audience for every fucking thing in general. Right? So if you don't like African food, bitch, don't fucking eat it. But also you making a video talking about how nasty you think African food is and talking about it as African food as in the continent. I know that you're an ignorant piece of shit and I also know that you probably never even really had it. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't take y'all seriously because while I understand you want to have the freedom to say whatever the fuck you want to say, I understand you want to be represented. I understand you have these valid points here and there. You don't know how to fucking articulate it. So
you know what I like? Let me just say, I like when people want to be ignorant but lean into being ignorant. Do you see what I'm saying? I think it's funny when you be around the niggas who be like, I'm not trying to be smart. I know I ain't smart. But this how I feel, and this and it's like, it's very lighthearted. I think the part about the internet that gets very irritating is when people think that they are so fucking smart. And they're like, this is my think piece. And it's the most dumbest shit you've ever heard in your life. At least when niggas say dumb shit, they know they saying dumb shit. And that's the runaway quality of it all. Like, I know I'm saying some stupid shit right now. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that, and that's what we're missing. We have to get back to when we are going to spew ignorance. There's a sense that the person saying it knows it's ignorant and the person receiving it also knows it's complete nonsense. Because that is the piece that's missing.
There is an art to being funny too, right? Like, I know I got some ignorant thoughts to get off, right? That are not necessarily rooted in anything other than an observation. So I am not going to present it to you like it's fucking research.
Right.
You get what I'm saying, bitch?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? If for an example, if I'm going to say, you know, Asian girls really love a bob, that don't got nothing to do with no research. I just know what I see.
And a bang.
I'm not finna try to make it this deep-ass conversation about Asianness. And no, them Asian little girls love a fuck-ass bob. And they be hitting that hoe and they be sharp as hell. Like they get it chopped up every fucking week. I don't know what it is about them Asian little girls, but they gonna have a sharp-ass bob.
Or where do Mexican mothers find the tiny little heels for the 3-year-olds? Where do y'all, where do you guys find the heels?
These are simply observations.
I've never seen them in the store.
You will always see a Mexican with no pockets on the jeans so that booty sit up tight. That don't have nothing to do with nothing but an observation.
Where are you finding them?
I've never found them. I don't know.
Do you see how we're not making that seem, or we're not presenting it as if it's like a dissertation? We have not cited any sources.
Conversation. I'm just telling you what I see. I'm just telling you what I see. So maybe if y'all would have got on here and been like, now Ralph Lauren, no, we be stealing that shit and made it a good kiki, we wouldn't have discourse. But no, you want to sit up here and have a full-on dissertation as if you are fighting for the rights of every black that has ever blacked.
All you had to do was be like, now
contextual information.
No, that is not how Bootsy was wearing that Ralph Lauren in the Wipe Me Down music video. It was a 4XL tall tee.
You had the perfect opportunity to show like, here's how I would have did this Ralph Lauren ad, because where I'm from, we don't wear that bullshit like that. You know what I'm saying? This is how we fucking freak it. But instead, it was you are knocking off a whole group of people who do feel validated and who do feel represented, right? Y'all got to learn how to throw some shit out there so that it'll stick in the way that you want. I make a lot of like observations and jokes on my TikTok that don't turn into actual discourse because it comes off very lighthearted and not like I'm trying to actually like dive super, super deep into things. And some things just aren't deep.
It's just like, okay, and I want to get into that because as deep as things be in terms of stereotypes, in terms of all these different things and isms that go on in America, I don't think a lot of shit be as deep as we make it seem, especially on TikTok. There's been this culture since the pandemic where everything is this big thing, and it's just like it's never been like that before this.
And no shade. Y'all are spending all of this effort talking about the Ralph Lauren ad with the uppity blacks in Martha's Vineyard when you could be spending all that energy coming for American Eagle, spreading Nazi propaganda and the Aryan Brotherhood with fucking Sydney Sweeney and her titties and her blonde hair and blue eyes with them goddamn good jeans. I'm just saying, you have the material. If you want to talk about some shit that's deep, talk about that. She got her blonde hair, blue-eyed on that goddamn thing with them titties and said, join me in the master race.
Is that what she said? I haven't seen it. I've seen that.
It's very, very obvious Nazi.
Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. Sydney Sweeney American
like,
Eagle ad.
It's horrible. It's actually like so obvious. It's not even like, oh, y'all weren't even trying to be slick. It said Sydney Sweeney has good genes. Get the fuck out of here.
We're gonna take a break. And we're back.
Oh, yeah. They just called me a nigger.
And it's like,
mind you, it's only funny. It's not funny, but it's obviously clear because Sydney Sweeney has MAGA ties. Like her brother is super MAGA. Her whole family's MAGA.
Yeah, she thought she was slick with her titties.
Yeah, my traits and
it's
blonde
like,
hair and blue eyes.
It's not only is it Nazi propaganda, it's eugenics. Y'all went full in. And I'm thinking about the conversation a couple of months ago where you niggers were getting on here telling me that eugenics is not an issue.
They just a couple weeks ago said the blind people shouldn't have the baby. And that baby is as cute as a button.
Again, here we are.
Can't even see how cute that baby is.
So if y'all want to argue about some deep ass shit when it comes to commercial, bitch, I got some shit y'all can dig.
Exactly.
All right, I got some shit you can dig on.
I always want to reference Michael Jackson.
Like,
please. Because Michael went and had them kids that's not his kids. So I just can't.
Now, what does that have to do with?
Because they always reference Michael Jackson, say if you can't have a baby, can't afford a baby, don't have a baby or whatever. Well, what did he say in that song? That's always a eugenics argument.
Feed your baby, then don't have a baby.
Yeah.
Michael was not a sociologist.
He wasn't, which is why he went and had them kids who not his kids. Exactly. With blonde hair and blue eyes.
So not even the point.
That is the point.
Not correlated.
You can't exactly. Michael is not like I sorry, I can't take Michael's reference seriously as a source to be cited with this particular subject. Now, if he's teaching me how to moonwalk, I'll listen. Or, honestly, if he's giving me instructions on how to get a blowout, I will also listen. Because it was slick and it was shiny. You know, Michael would have used sacred.
Like, you just keep trying to dig. Like, what are we talking about now?
He would have had that sacred partnership on lock. I think I'm done.
Okay. Moral of the story is, guys, You guys are arguing about more and more things every fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
And my God.
Touch grass. Go outside.
Can't we all just get along? Shout out to Rodney King.
Man.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
But you know what? I feel like it's so interesting. I've seen way more class separation in the past 5 years than I have in my entire life. Like, it used to be like, there was always class separation, right? But then it was like, when I went to school, obviously there was class separation, but everybody was still cool and could kiki and canoodle. And now it's kind of just like, no, we're too different. I'm here and you're there from both sides of the aisles. Like, the hood niggas don't want to hang out with the bourgeoisie. The bourgeoisie don't want to hang out with the hood niggas. The middle of the road niggas is still in the middle of the goddamn road. And it's like, what happened to sharing our experiences?
I think it's the rise of anti-intellectualism.
And anti-blackness.
Because the
you guys
thing
are still participating in
is,
anti-blackness.
this should
Both
not
sides are.
affect your empathy levels. Like, people are still people. People still struggle. Again, I'll take it back to, you can't relate to never would have made it because your parents are doctors. You're a fucking idiot.
Like, what does that even mean?
Like, what does that mean? You've never been through a hard time? I was playing never would have made it over a noob from NSU. Like, what the fuck are we?
That's fucking ridiculous.
What the fuck are we talking about?
Playing a noob to get over a noob.
And I know, and I just found that out. Shout out to the bishop.
Yeah.
Because he was at that family reunion trying to get them shoulders wet, girl. I said, oh! Not too much, bishop. This is still a church.
And it's funny, like I said earlier in the episode, you know, the people who are trying to vouch for the Ralph Lauren ad and all that, while having very significant points of, you know, being represented in that way, you guys are also like stepping into like uppity Negro-ness. And it's funny as fuck because why are you getting on here like, the Ralph Lauren ad is quite stir. Why are you being so fucking uppity? This is why we be talking about y'all.
I'm not gonna lie.
I ain't never heard nobody call that shit Ralph Lauren until today. Like, that might be the proper way, but I ain't never heard that shit until now. And it's like, y'all are like, y'all be extras. Like,
it's only funny. Let me tell you why it's funny, especially as someone who has an uppity mom. They're dead ass. Like, no. If you like,
and that's why I can't take it seriously.
And it's hard to take seriously if you've never really been exposed to it. But like, please know, in all seriousness, they are serious.
I think there are some people that are, and I think there are some people that are putting on so that we can feel where they come from a little bit more.
No,
like,
but
you
that's the
want
piece.
us to really,
that is what I'm trying to say.
No.
I feel like you've been doing this a lot lately, where it's like, I'll be trying to say something, but I'm not clear. But then you'll come in, you'll be like, oh, you'll explain it better. That's what I'm trying to say. If you actually have someone who is that uppity in your family, you can clearly tell when niggas are fronting the up. Like, I'm telling you, as someone with an uppity mama who, when she gets called uppity, what's her bar? Why don't you come on up with me? You know what I'm saying? Like, that is literally her personality. I can tell when you bitches are popping the camera up, and this is not really you. You're trying to put on for the camera. Because real uppity motherfuckers don't, like, damn near don't give a fuck. Damn near not. Like, a real uppity bitch is not finna even acknowledge the fact that non-uppity motherfuckers hate this shit. Follow me.
And the thing is, you could also be from a upper middle class. You could be wealthy. You could be all of these things without also being an uppity, arrogant asshole.
Some people like being uppity, arrogant assholes. Just say. I'm making my mom sound like a dickhead right now, but like,
no, but your mom is not like that.
She's
though.
not. But your
mom is very sweet.
She's sweet.
Your mom is not what I'm talking about.
No.
Your mom is she knows who she is. She's very educated. She is very much like the clear Huxtable, like you said. But I would not even call her like an uppity Negro. That's not what I would classify as an uppity Negro.
I think with people who are not secure in themselves, who might not come, I'm just saying what I've seen in my family with my dad's side and just in the wild. People like my mom can rub folks the wrong way.
For sure.
And again, not like you're saying, not because she's trying, but because in her conversation sometimes it'd be like, is that shade? Like, what's going on? And if you're not like, and I feel like that's what happens on TikTok. you're not secure that, and you feel like this Ralph Lauren ad is a dunk on you. You feel like it's condescending towards you. And it's not necessarily that. But I do understand how it can be read as that. And I've just seen this interaction so many times with my mom.
I feel like the conversation y'all are having is valid. It just not, that's why I said it's not in context to this ad. 'Cause I don't, I'm not seeing it with that ad. And I feel like you should have had the conversation outside of that, because then I think it would have landed a little bit better. Like, hey, what I've noticed is a lot of Black people that come from wealth act in this certain very condescending way. Then you would have a point, because they do. And because I've been around a lot of wealthy Black people who, and there's a difference. There's a difference between Black people who come into some money and Black people who come from money. And honestly, it just depends on I don't know what it is about folks with money sometimes, especially the people who just stumble into some money. Why is you acting like this uppity Negro? It's off-putting.
It'd be the difference between Atlanta and Potomac Housewives. I mean, I think that is such a good display of like folks who are generationally in certain circles versus folks who just came into some money. And even in how the women themselves act. I'm the granddaughter. You know, like you have all of that versus Nene and Phaedra, who, yes, Phaedra is bourgeoisie, but Phaedra is still very like country.
From the very,
you know what I'm saying? I'm from Athens. You know, like it's a different vibe. And I can see how if you're not aware of it, it definitely comes off condescending, both intentionally and unintentionally. That's what I'm trying to say. But I do think it has a lot to do with like the person, because again, you seeing an ad and feeling some type of way about an ad that aligns with Ralph Lauren's branding this entire time, I think that says more about you, to be honest.
I think that's valid. And I also think that like the condescension, whether it be intentional or not, it really kind of comes from this level of just tone deafness. And a lot of people, when you don't ever have to experience a level of a specific type of disenfranchisement, specifically coming from your class, you are just not socially aware of those things, especially if you're not grounded. If your parents, if your grandparents, wherever you come from, if they did not ground you in the things that, you know, people may not have. Like, for example, I didn't grow up poor, but I didn't grow up rich at all. Like I said, my very working class. But my parents did. My parents grew up poor, and so we were constantly reminded about the other side of that life. So I feel like I'm very aware of what I speak and the way in which I talk about things, because I don't want to be that type of tone deaf person, because you genuinely don't know. And people, the thing about tone deafness is it's not intentional. And that's the part that makes it so like you don't even know what the fuck you just said. Like, nigga, like, oh my gosh. Like, sometimes y'all are very, very tone deaf about just the way in which people like exist. And y'all need to get some grounding. Y'all need to get some social awareness on you, because damn, what are y'all saying sometimes? It's like,
ain't nobody trying to hear that. Well, I think that this has been a very informative conversation. If you're raising kids in the upper middle class, try to keep them grounded. You know, make them do community service or something, so they don't get on the internet sounding like dickheads when they're in high school and young adults. Because that's what that comes down to. You've never seen anything. So, you know.
Expose your kids to all the walks of life. If you can.
If you're able and willing, I guess. All right. Well, we're going to spin it.
We're going to take a break. And we're back.
So this is our segment where we take your low down, gutter snipe, dirty situations and we give them a bit of a PR spin. We also will sprinkle some advice in there. Now, keep in mind, Jamila and I are not PR professionals. We just studied communications in undergrad. Don't forget to email at unhingedandimoralpod@gmail.com. Include your races, your gender, sexual orientation. Jamila said she didn't want to hear your political takes, but I want to know what you're registered as. What do we have this week, Jamila?
This one is rather short. It says, "Hi, Mecca and Jamila. I absolutely love you all's content and podcast. It's like listening to my big sisters. I have less of a spinning and more of asking for advice. I am 23 and about to graduate college in May from an HBCU,
Hello.
of course. I am currently in a position that doesn't make me happy, but will lead me somewhere. I have other available opportunities, but I don't want to, nor know if I should leave here or stick it out. I don't feel I get to be my full self where I am now, but I don't want to be seen as a quitter. Please give me advice on this. And just being a college graduate about to go in the world, thanks for making my day with y'all pod. Sanaya."
Oh, that's
she put her
pretty.
name, period. Hi, Sanaya.
Well, you want to start?
A break from niggas.
Finally. And mind you, me and Jamila are the perfect people to ask because we both have had 50-11 jobs.
Yes. Well, I was going to say,
we can talk about some, bitch, I'm going to quit a job. Okay. Well, I'll let you start because I started last time.
Okay. So, first of all, you didn't tell me what your career goal is. So I'll just be kind of speaking generally, and I'll kind of use myself as an example.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a very specific career goal in mind, right? I wanted to be in the entertainment industry, blanketly, because I do a couple of different things. So I just want to be entertainment industry, right? However, my career field is a little bit unique in the way of that you don't just get on Indeed and say, "Hey, any actors? Anybody need a director today?" It's just not that easy. It's one of those things where you kind of have to like scrub and scratch your way into it. So after graduating college, I'm like, well, what do I do? So my entire college career, I pretty much worked the same job. I worked at Avis Rental Car because my aunt works there for a long time, and that was kind of like my entry point. And then I worked there a little bit after college, and then I worked at the Coca-Cola headquarters here in Atlanta, which honestly was one of my favorite jobs. It was lovely. I've worked at Walmart for 2 weeks before quitting. I've worked at a warehouse for about 3 weeks before quitting. I've worked a couple of jobs, and my main goal, specifically after college, when working these jobs. Now, this is going to sound a little crazy, but this is just the way my mind works. I deliberately did not want to work a job that I would like too much because I didn't want to be complacent in there, and I did not want to get stuck in the corporate ladder. As someone, I studied film and journalism, but there's a lot that you could do with those type of degrees, right? So there were a lot of opportunities that kind of came my way that I was like, they do pay very well. They have all those things. I think I would get used to it, and it would force me to not be in my grind mode. And so I didn't take them. I made sure to like work jobs that honestly, they didn't pay a lot. It was never the goal to just not get paid a lot. That's just kind of how it happened. But I would have a lot of like wiggle room. And I needed that wiggle room because I wanted to be able to pop on somebody's set if I was able to. I wanted to be able to put a lot of focus into my craft. And I wanted to not be complacent, and I wanted to really force myself to be uncomfortable so that I can keep pushing towards my goal. That don't work for everybody though. And it is not a peaceful situation. You are like you're living paycheck to paycheck. Well, I was living paycheck to paycheck, and it was very stressful and it was very uncomfortable, but I used that uncomfort to literally just keep pushing it. And like, but I do hate hustle culture also. So that's just, it's a weird thing. You have to figure out where you're going. I say that to say, if the job you're working right now is directly correlated and tied to you getting to your goal, stick with it. If it's not, and you can find something else better while you still work to your goal, do that. Because what's most important is you get to your goal. So the fastest, quickest, best way you can get there, do that without sacrificing your well-being. I'm not a component for quitting your job and moving to Los Angeles. Only because, well, it's expensive, and I don't want you to have to struggle in the way of like literally panhandling just to pursue your career. There's ways to do that without having to go to the extreme. It's not 1980 anymore. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, you could do that and stumble upon a little coffee shop job and be cool. Bitch, you try that now, you end up on Skid Row. Be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a great spiel, Jamila.
Thank you.
I'm a little bit of the opposite. I have always had this sense that I was going to eventually be taken care of. And I've never aspired to labor, so I didn't have a dream job. I will say I knew I was going to be in the public eye. Jamila as my witness, I definitely thought I was just going to end up being a rapper baby mom, athlete baby mom. That was the plan A, B, and C. So the jobs I worked, I made sure that I liked them, and I could work them until that goal was met. With that being said, I've worked a lot of jobs. Odd jobs, but jobs that just like I really enjoyed showing up to work every day. Like when I worked at Nordstrom, I liked working in accessories. When I was planning weddings, I liked planning weddings. Like I like being in the med spa business. I like being in the entertainment industry and doing this podcast. I think you should do something. I know there are goals, but I am definitely a little bit of the opposite in terms of doing something that you like and that can fund your lifestyle, because you're going to be at work majority of your day. And every job that I have quit has been because I was miserable in that existence. And if I got to show up here 5 to 6 days a week for 6 to 8 hours, that's most of your life. You should be happy with the people there. You should be happy with what you're doing, and you should be happy with what you're being compensated. Now, like Jamila said, if there is a very clear end goal for you, I think that you should stay with that. Don't know what that was. But if there's not, and you're a little bit more like me, where it's like, I'm just going with the flow, I would definitely say go with something that you like doing. Because I know a lot of people actually, because we're, close 29, close to 30, our friends are at the point where they don't necessarily like their jobs, but they're being paid so well and they're so used to their lifestyles that they're not going to quit. And that creates such a weird dynamic with your work life.
I also want to give a little bit of advice about kind of inching into different industries. Again, I don't know what industry you're trying to go off of because you did not give us that information. Shame on you. Just kidding. But a little bit of advice would be to really lean on your networking experience, because networking is going to be.
You went to HBCU, so you should have like a pretty vast network.
That's going to be your best friend. Go to different events that are centered around your industry. So, for example, if you work in tech, like go to an Afro tech type of event, go to those like Black centered events that are, within your industry, and really mingle and get to meet people, because going to an HBCU, you should know this. People who also went to HBCUs are very keen on giving you opportunities just because you went to HBCU. Like it is kind of like a brother type shit. I don't know if you are in a Greek organization, but if you are, again, use that. Like people who see that you are a part of their organization, or even just in D9 in general, sometimes are, more keen to like hear you out or give you opportunities. Use your resources and use your, use the things that are around you. Like you'd be surprised how you're able to move up based off of who you know.
It's my mama always said, it's not always what you know, but who you know. And I think the older that I get, the more I'm realizing that it's the talent will take you so far, but you know what can get you there without the talent? Knowing someone at the door. So imagine if you have both, imagine if you have both.
I actually always, I have the mindset of it's actually all of who you know, and it's what you know that allows you to stay there. Because unfortunately, that's just where we are, especially depending on your industry. Like, who do you know? Like, it just be like that. And a lot of times, because even with corporate, because this matters within corporate too. A lot of the times when they are hiring for new positions, they fire in-house first.
They always hire in-house.
So if you know the hiring managers, if you're cool with the people who are doing those things, you're going to know that they're hiring people way before they even release it to the public. So the same applies even within corporate. You need to be, this is what you have to get out of. This is the mindset. I need everybody to hear this. You have to get out of the mindset of, I'm coming here so I won't get fined. You got to let that mindset go when you are trying to really like inch up. You have to try to really stretch out all of this experience because you never know what else is going to happen, right? You have to figure out while I'm here, how can I maximize while I'm here? For an example, when I was working at Coca-Cola, this is so crazy, y'all, because it actually pisses me off, but there's a lesson here. When I used to work at the Coca-Cola headquarters, I worked specifically in the event planning conference center, right? So we planned all the events that happened in the conference center. Really fun job, right? However, there was a film department in the Coca-Cola headquarters where they would film commercials and things like that. Every day I would go down there and try to meet somebody new. One day I met one of the producers of the film department in Coca-Cola. I'm chatting with them. I set up a whole meeting while I'm on the clock, one thing about it, and set up a whole meeting so that I could level up and move into that department. Because again, that's more so what I do, production, right? And it ended up working out. I ended up scheduling a meeting with them to kind of talk about hiring. I kid you not, my meeting was scheduled for the Monday that our country shut the fuck down from COVID.
I didn't know that.
So I don't have a finishing of that story because everyone fucking went home after that, right? And we were gone for forever. And so at that point, I kind of just moved on. But that's just an example of how you can try to like stretch out your resources within where you are at the time as well. Like you have to keep thinking about the end goal. Don't think about where you are right now because you're just going to stay right the fuck there. Mm-hmm. You need to make sure you connect with people. You need to make sure sometimes that means staying a little bit later because I know the CEO leave his office at 6:30 and I want to talk to him.
Sometimes you have to do a little bit of stalking. You have to do a little bit of peeping. I have an example of right before COVID. I had absolutely planned to move up the Nordstrom ladder, much to Jamila's point. Nordstrom is a company that hires from within. If you want to become a manager, assistant manager, store manager, and you already work at the store, you have first foot in the door before anyone else. And a lot of times they actually don't even end up they post it, but they already know who they're going to hire when that happens. So I had all intentions of eventually somewhere in America having a store. When new positions were come up right before COVID, I was really interested in seeing what was going on in the HR department because I didn't, store the numbers and how much the selling of the store. That was really hard. But I was like, you know what I could do? I could see what's going on in HR. I could work over there. And so when stuff would happen, I would talk to the HR ladies, kind of get a feel for it. And when positions would open up, I would ask, hey, is that position? I would ask my manager, can you see if that position at that store is open and see you have that connect there? Again, the country closed down, so I became a bottle girl. But, networking and things of that nature. And honestly, I will say, to my credit, working in bottle service gave me a whole nother level of network. Because it's like, you're really in the wild with that one. You're dealing with drunks. And that's a different level of like parlay that you, and people skills. So, whatever people skills that you've cultivated at that HBCU, hopefully you've been involved in some organizations, take it out to the workforce and use it to your credit. Use it to your advantage. That's what I was trying to say.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And think about ways to make you stand out against your competitors.
Yeah.
I hate that it is a competitive sport when it comes to like your career, but unfortunately that's just kind of how it is. Everybody's on Indeed. Everybody is applying for the jobs. Okay.
Yes.
So what can make you stand out? So think about ways to do that. Something and it's annoying to do, but it's such a good practice and it has worked in my favor so many times. Something you need to get good at is a follow-up. You need to have a good follow-up conversation because the first conversation is always great. People forget. You need to stay fresh on everybody's mind. So after I do an initial reach out, that initial like connection, whether it be in person, online or whatever, I'm going to follow back up because not only do I want you to remember that conversation, but I was dead serious about wanting to work.
I was really dead ass. I took this advice from Dre. I forgot where he said it. Did he say it at the Urban League conference or he said it online? I literally can't remember. But he said when he first started working with brands and even now, he will follow up with them directly outside of his team. So if it's like this happened, it's like he'll follow up outside of his team, be like, thank you for having me. That's something that I've been doing. I said, oh, that's good. That's good. That's why you're sponsored by LinkedIn. That's fucking good. Don't forget, and that's the thing that make people remember you. Charisma isn't something that can be taught per se, but you can definitely learn it. And as someone who's a lot of bit naturally charismatic, when I feel like it, Jamila will tell you my social battery be drained at times, but when it's time to turn it on, I can definitely turn the charm on. And that has worked in my favor a lot in terms of making sure people remember who I am. Like following up, oh yes, I did meet you. I remember meeting you. That matters. Yeah. Well, good luck. Sanaya, was that her name?
Super good luck.
Sanaya.
Yes. Please tell us. I definitely want to follow up from you because you graduated in May.
That means you're just graduated.
So we're here
Congratulations.
in July, almost August. So I would definitely love for you to send us an update. Like, are you still with this job? What HBC did you graduate from? What is your career field? Give us a
Do
few
you
more
feel like you're in an
situation.
elitist black way right now?
Let us know. I love giving advice, guys. I really do, especially when it doesn't have anything to do with niggas.
Please, more advice like this, less nigga advice, because we're always going to say leave that nigga.
Unless it's like super unique. Like,
have we given an example of telling someone not to leave though? I don't think so. I think we've said leave every time.
Most times, most case scenarios,
you do need to leave.
The nigga do be needing to be left. Well, the only time we didn't say leave that nigga is when the nigga sent us his dick. For that conversation, we did not have to say
Barnes.
leave that nigga alone. We had to say leave that young bitch alone. So
Barnes, don't send a follow-up, but just know we're gonna reference you forever in that cock ring.
That's going to be like a little unhinged
lore.
Insider.
Imagine if you start listening to this like in 2 years and we reference Barnes and a cock ring and you have no idea what we're talking about.
Like, that's just going to always be stamped in our history of foolishness. Like, yeah, we did have somebody send us dick pics and he let us know that he uses cock rings and he was messing with two pictures
too. Imagine if we saw Barnes out in the street. I would have to speak.
I would scream. Like, in horror.
No. If I seen Barnes in the wild, I would literally be like, Barnes. I would have to let him know I know it's him.
I would call Julius.
I would let you call Julius. I would stand behind Julius. I would stand behind Julius.
I would feel like he came to like,
and I'd be like, Barnes, are you wearing your cock ring right now? I just want to know.
Fuck no. Barnes, unfortunately, you have to stay away from us in person. But I do hope you keep listening, like, for sure. Like, keep supporting, but like, I don't ever want to see you in person.
What if Barnes came to our live shows?
Like, please don't. Like, unsolicited dick pics do scare me. Face and dick pics scare me even more. And
that nigga has a cock ring in the audience.
So
I'd be like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
I just know.
Anyways.
Let's read these comments. We're going to take a break. And we're back.
Alrighty, y'all. We are going to read some of y'all's comments from previous episodes. Remember to leave y'all's comments. We love engaging with you guys every chance we get. All right, I'm going to read the Spotify. This is from Celebrity Parents. Oh, Lord. Auntie I's getting worse. Takira Amari says, random, but every time I go to the bathroom, I think about Jamila putting her teacher glasses. Come on, y'all. Put in her teacher glasses once in a period trash. Like, why the fuck would you do that? LMFAO, love you down. Why would you bring that back up? But I'm so sorry to her.
Damn, that's a throwback.
Ed Jason Astro said, and Trump, go ahead and make English the national language.
Okay.
What?
Trump made English America's, we don't have an official language.
Right, but is he saying that he should?
No, he's saying he did.
Or is he
I think he did. I'm not sure.
And Trump gonna go ahead and make English the national language.
I think he said he was. I don't know if he actually has. Does that make sense?
Okay. Daisy said, as a Nigerian raised in America, especially in the South, I need the diaspora war people to live in community in real life. I have so much appreciation for African Americans and the culture, and vice versa. My African American friends have appreciation for my African culture, because at the end of the day, we Black for real. Love this conversation. I felt like I was going crazy all the stuff. Same, girl.
There was a lot going on,
It's
child.
such an online thing. Alex Vanka 1 says, I love listening to y'all's diaspora conversation, because it truly is an issue of xenophobia on both sides. And being the first gen kid raised in the South, it's clear we have bigger enemies than each other. Also, watching Baddies Africa right now has been its own social experiment.
Why are you watching Baddies
Love
Africa?
this episode.
Please.
Jason Slaughter says, as a mean auntie, aged woman from a long line of mean women, I can confirm there's mean and then there's mean. My family and I are lacking in patience and foolishness, and can be blunt, but never nasty for no reason. Nor do we victimize folks or pile on. It's an important distinction. I love both of your takes on things and love the podcast. Thank you.
Shout out to the mean aunties. My auntie just called and was yelling at us yesterday. Darrington hung up the phone. He said, I'm not dealing with this shit. And then she was like, I don't care that he hung up. Okay. Ray said, I see where Mecca was getting at with the Lisa Bonet. LOL, she does give hippie boho vibes. Thank you, Ray. I saw where I was getting at too. Y'all can call me Rachel True, but don't get the Lisa Boho reference. I don't get it. Okay. Zay Tovenisha said, I am Mecca with being loud as fuck. I get it from my daddy side too. My daddy's sister was just cussing us out yesterday. Jasmine World said, I watched the show faithfully. Thank you, Jasmine. Check Yes Will said, been waiting on this my hair washing pod. Oh, period. I like that y'all as a podcast listener, I like that we are now a part of people's routines, because I have podcasts that are a part of my routine. So that like makes me feel so good. Mario Roland 1269 said, my celebrity parents are Nene Leakes and Cedric the Entertainer. That is a black ass household you're finna come from, child. And shit, what's that? What that say? Okay, Sony enter. Wait a minute. I just knew Jamila was going to say KWN was her.
K1.
K1 was her stud crush. That's that girl who half Nigerian, isn't it? With the fade. Okay. I am right there with you, sister. She is cute.
Well, thank you guys so much again for watching. Only announcement I have is that you guys should be subscribed to our Patreon, and you guys should go ahead and purchase some merch on unhingedimmoral.com.
Bye. See you next week.
Unhinged and Immoral is hosted by Jamila Bell and Mecca.
Produced by Melisa D. Monts and Diamond MPrint Productions.
Post-production by Coco, Llorens.
Production assistant by Melanie D. Watson.
Music by Audie and Brooklyn Billionaires.
And graphics by Claudia, Choi.